A big aircraft order is in the works, there's updates surrounding new Pacific Airlines, and JetBlue is expanding its operations. Welcome back to your latest industry developments. Feel free to subscribe to the channel if you do enjoy these long-form news updates, but let me get right underway with focus on Cathay Pacific, who are reportedly assessing options from Airbus and Boeing as it looks towards growing its wide-body fleet, focusing though specifically more on mid-sized wide-body types. The reports from Bloomberg earlier in the week indicate the carrier is in communication with Airbus and Boeing for the order. However, it's still in the early stages. Cathay Pacific is now looking to proceed with a formal order for a new mid-sized widebody. The group, though, has actually been targeting such a move since the latter stages of 2022. As for the options, well, we know they're targeting a mid-sized plane with the intention of deploying it across various day-to-day operations. So, Cathay Pacific naturally wants this addition to massively elevate not just their passenger operations, but they make mention of their cargo business too. In the mid-size wide-body market, there are several options that can be classed as available to Cathay Pacific for a potential order. Per current speculation and opinions from analysts, I want to highlight it's speculation and opinions, and also this comes from onlookers, the A330neo and the 787 are believed to be the ideal options to fulfill this requirement. We know that the airline already flies the A350 series pretty extensively, with commitments to both currently produced variants, the 900 and the Dash 1000. However, for what Cathay Pacific is looking for in a mid-sized widebody, I do think that the A350 could be deemed as potentially too large for their requirements, but that's always subject to change. Therefore, notably missing from the group's current operation are the A330neo and the 787. These two aircraft types are considered as direct competitors, and the aircraft types will likely be pitched to Cathay Pacific by the respective plane makers. At the end of the day, though, there are many factors that will come into selecting an eventual aircraft, not necessarily all on the capabilities, but when they can take the aircraft on board, what does the price look like, and several other factors too. The A330neo, as we know, has struggled pretty significantly to acquire large purchases from airlines in recent history. And following the request for proposals, or RFPs, the aircraft manufacturer will no doubt be attempting to pitch the aircraft maybe alongside the A350, especially if Cathay Pacific does want to stick to a bit of fleet commonality. Cathay Pacific's fleet now consists of 156 in-service aircraft with 22 types listed in storage, which is a significant improvement as we've seen demand and restrictions ease and the reintroduction of aircraft come continuously across the last 12 months. But really interestingly, when analysing the current mid-size aircraft that are operational, it really only is the A330 series that stands true. Cathay flies 36 A330-300s and there are 6 units parked, which brings the total to 42. This series has an average age now of 15.2 years, which does show it is not getting any younger. The likelihood from this observation is that Cathay will look to replace the A330-300s with the upcoming order. So they need a type that can complete similar missions, but is also versatile enough to work adequately and hand in hand with its future fleet. You can let me know your thoughts down below on which you believe to be best. Now, as for new Pacific Airlines, well, they've cancelled their initial launch route to Las Vegas. This was, at the beginning, identified as a crucial part of their network. The airline that exclusively operates with the Boeing 757 has had a pretty turbulent start since its launch, with a lack of identity following airspace restrictions and other struggles. The newly based US carrier terminated service between Ontario International and Las Vegas Harry Reid on January 1st, 2024. The decision came at the turn of the year, following problems identified with this service, as revealed by the airline's CEO, Rob McKinney. Rob McKinney says there were times when ground stops made the trip longer than it would have been in an Uber, so as a result, they didn't want to continue offering a flight that they didn't believe gave the best to their customers. The company highlighted consistent ground delays while arriving and departing Harry Reid in Las Vegas, which tallied sometimes from 2 to 3 hours. Ultimately, the carrier isn't the only one facing something similar, it must be mentioned, but it is a notable airline that has now pulled itself from the airport. Despite this route cancellation, the airline was very quick to say that load factors on the aircraft were actually more than adequate, and this was not the reason for the cancellation. According to many, though, a decision to depart Las Vegas Harry Reid further highlights the airline's broken identity, or really lack of one. You might recall when new Pacific Airlines launched, it was actually known as Northern Pacific Airways before a name change occurred towards the mid to late point of 2023. The latter sounds a lot more professional rather than generic. When launched, the company wanted to fly from Anchorage to ports within Asia, utilizing a fleet of 757s and then facilitating onward travel from Anchorage towards more ports in the United States. Think of it as a model very similar to Iceland Air. However, when Russia invaded Ukraine in the early stages of 2022, the repercussions were felt down to the aviation industry, and restrictions were implemented on flights. Due to the nature, New Pacific Airlines was unable to operate flights as it did intend. Following this, there were a lot of question marks about just how it would begin flying before they eventually settled on Las Vegas as their initial route. Question marks will now emerge over if this airline will be able to survive for the long term, especially considering they don't have much of an identity at this stage. On to the final story of today, that sits with JetBlue, who celebrated the launch of a new scheduled service between Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International and Tallahassee International. The newly launched service is operating daily and brings JetBlue's service to a route with what the airline says has limited competition. Fort Lauderdale and Orlando act as the airline's primary focus cities within Florida. However, its operations towards Florida extend past these locations too. JetBlue notes the likes of Miami, West Palm Beach, Key West, Jacksonville, Fort Myers, Tampa, and more are all essential locations within the state, and thanks to this newly launched service, JetBlue will now see 40 destinations from Fort Lauderdale offered, really highlighting how important Florida is for JetBlue for some time. Additionally, we know that as long as JetBlue continues flying, this state will be an essential place for its operations. Service between Fort Lauderdale and Tallahassee will operate as Flight 2396 and 2397, with the A320 slated to be deployed on the service, which has proved a very reliable aircraft for JetBlue for some time. JetBlue says the A320s are equipped with fast, free, unlimited broadband Fly-Fi, complimentary name brand snacks and drinks, and seatback entertainment at every seat. The belief is that the convenient travel towards Tallahassee is essential in providing more connectivity around Florida and the state capital, which is home to several major universities. You may question why I bring up the fact that there are several major universities. Well, it comes down to why JetBlue launched this service. They are looking to target several key demographics. However, it cites that those traveling back and forth for business or education will now have a very affordable option. Because according to maps, Fort Lauderdale and Tallahassee sits at 459 miles thereabouts by road away, which equates to almost 7 hours of driving. So a flight does provide a more compelling option for those who do need a quicker alternative. You can let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Thank you so much for your support here on the channel. It really does mean the world. Enjoy your weekend, take care, do also be safe, and I will see you next time for more coverage on the aviation industry. Remember, same place, same time tomorrow.